Before I ask my question, I just want to say, Clay, you're probably the worst moderator I've ever seen in my life. Asking very dishonest yes or no questions, but anyway.
That's perfectly fine. I've yet to win anything, so sure. I always come in second place. Ruben will be doing one down the hall, so yeah. Go ahead and
did you ever stop beating your children, yes or no? That's a stupid question. Anyways, I just wanted to say, so this event was, your guys' talk was marketed as, finishing unfinished business, and it was over this argument you guys had over Greta Thunberg about, you said that she was like autistic or whatever. He got really mad at you, and that was the whole thing. And we never even addressed that in the talk. So I was wondering, if you guys could maybe quickly address that or something.
Sure, I would be happy to. And so obviously, of course, there is nothing shameful about living with any sort of mental condition. I certainly never suggested that it was, and I certainly never meant to suggest that it was. What is shameful is exploiting children, particularly vulnerable children, for political purposes. And we're seeing this happen in the case of climate change, which is very, very awful, but we've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen to traumatized children in the case of pushing gun control. The left perpetually uses children as human shields for precisely this purpose, to shut down debate. And it's a cheap political trick that they do, and so I object to it on that front, but it's also extraordinarily harmful to children. You're seeing this happen again and again, and so I object to it outright.
But that's not what you did. That's not what happened. What happened was you called her a mentally ill Swedish child. This is a woman who was speaking before the United Nations. She's 16 years old.
She is a mentally ill Swedish child. Who cares whether she's Swedish? She's mentally ill. She is part of my acronym, SIMMER. Unfortunately, she's being used as a political pawn, a policy pawn by the global elites, and she is part of this this non-science, this church of climatology. It is a religion for these people. And they basically anointed her Saint Greta Thunberg of climatology. And you know what? If she's got a physical challenge, a mental handicap, a mental challenge, because of Asperger's syndrome, they are exploiting that. And she willingly looks like she's going along with it because of all the attention that's happening with that. So there's nothing wrong in calling it out, nothing at all. And who the hell cares whether she's under the age of 18? You guys are basically now saying, you know what? Kids, their minds are fully developed. They can decide if they're a man or a woman or a man or a cat or a dog or a bird or a train or a plane or whatever the hell they want. So you're not going to hurt their feelings. You want to classify them as adults below the age of 18 for everything else? So what? Everybody's feelings get hurt when you talk about them. Everybody gets triggered when you talk about them. They don't like to hear things about themselves, maybe, that are unflattering or whatever. We all don't like that, but we learn to take it. So I don't know what the hell Chris is talking about over here.
She's a child. She's autistic. Whatever. Instead of going after her arguments and having a debate about what she said, he decided to say, don't listen to her. She's a mentally
I never
ill
said anything of the kind.
This is what you were inferring in that. And this
No, that's what you inferred. It's not what I implied,
Hold
my
on,
friend.
skinny boy. Relax. I got this.
Only because that's a compliment.
I had to pull it out. Come on. It's like my tagline now. Look. What the right has been doing, and sometimes the left does it too, is when they don't have an answer to the attack, they attack the person raising the question. She is saying we have a problem with climate change. She is leading a large movement of kids around the world that want.
She at that time, she was a 16-year-old child. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. So we as adults with fully formed brains are supposed to listen to some idiot child spewing out some garbage because guess what? She's being utilized by the global elites and the climate, the climate idiots, the climate progressives, the climate moderates, the climate people that are just absolutely, using her for their advantage to push their agenda, their money, their policies onto everybody around the planet because there's a ton of money to be made. So if they can utilize a 16, 17, 18-year-old girl, whatever, they can utilize children to get more money, more power, more fame, whatever it is, by all means, exploit.
Want to see our governments do something about climate change. You might disagree with her message.
We do.
Her message, but pointing out her perceived disability that you say, that was not right.
Chris,
and when you're 16 years old and you're talking to a guy who's got a 13-year-old kid and a 26-year-old kid, and I'm looking at you saying, come on, man, you're an adult.
Right,
She's a child.
Chris, that's right.
Do not pick on a child.
That's right, Chris. You have teenage kids, which is why you should know much better than to exploit children for political purposes. I have 20 pages of notes here that can refute every one of your climate change arguments.
I don't believe she's being exploited for political purposes. I think that's a
you're misdirecting this again. You're misdirecting again, but I'm going to keep talking until I get to finish.
Yeah.
Because the reason that you're deflecting is because you don't want to answer the question of when it is okay to exploit children in politics. The line that I used is exactly the same language used by Psychology Today. It's exactly the same language used by the girl's mother. It's exactly the same language used by the American Psychiatric Association. And it's totally relevant because you are not only
you were not on Fox to talk about
the climate change
you were on Fox to talk about climate change.
I will finish my statement, Chris. I was on Fox to talk about the climate change movement. No, not climate change. The climate change movement.
Right.
And
we were actually there to talk about Meatless Monday.
And Meatless Monday should have come up. What I said is that it is wrong of the left to try to advance their climate change arguments by exploiting a child. Relevant fact as to why it's especially bad to exploit vulnerable children. And if that's not the only time they've done it, they did it in Parkland too to traumatize kids. So my question to you, Chris, is when is it not okay to exploit children for politics?
I think it was the guns that got the kids kind of upset in Parkland. I don't think it was.
It wasn't the guns, you stupid moronic idiot. It wasn't the guns. It was the people that used the guns, the people who used the guns. They're the ones at fault. Guns are not at fault. It's the people that are pulling, they're the ones at fault. Oh my God. How many times you have to let these leftists know? It's unbelievable when they use your talking points to completely fraudulently push forward their narrative.
The people, I think the guns that were used to kill their friends.
Right, and then the left
got them
used
upset.
the
And I think they led a movement to react to things that adults are not doing. Okay, now, look, here's the thing. Here's what you actually said. You said if this was a real movement, it would be led by scientists, not a mentally ill Swedish child.
No, I said if it were about science,
there have been scientific marches for 10 years on climate change. There have been scientists calling it out.
Wow. So when we hold a march, that's science. That must mean that it's true if we hold a march. The march is what gives the truth, not the facts or lack of facts, but it's the march because we march for climate change. Therefore, it must be true. That's what Chris Hahn is telling you that you gotta believe.
Scientists conduct studies.
We probably could use a psychologist here today, but we don't. None of us are. So let's let him have the final word.
Thank you.
Question.
Scientists don't march. You've just revealed exactly the point that I'm making. This has become highly politicized. It is always wrong to exploit children in politics.
Okay,
and
let's
I don't
leave it
care
at
how
that.
many. Excuse me. I'll finish my statement.
You made
We're not going to leave
You
it
said
there.
it a few times.
Excuse me.
If you had a question, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Go ahead
If
and
you
ask
wouldn't
your
mind.
question.
If you wouldn't mind. Thank you very much.
It's always wrong to exploit children in politics. That's the point you made. You've said it a few times.
I want to point out something. I want to point out something about this debate.
You got folks who are fans of yours in line who want to ask questions.
Would you mind if I finish my point? Thank you very much. I would like to point out something. Whenever you question the left's tactic of using children as human shields, which I'm doing right now, you both interject as quickly as you can to shut it down, which is an absolute validation of my opposition to that awful tactic.
You've said it 4 times. I let you say it. I let you have the last word.
Well, he let me say it, actually.
You said it, and then I said, you've said it, so now let's move on, and you wanted to say it 2 more times.
Well,
so congratulations, you've said it 3 more times.
Let's
let him ask his question.
My pleasure.
Okay.
All right, this is for Chris. You stated presidents should be above words and have better responses. I know you're far from presidential, but would you take your own advice and be above Michael's comment today?
I don't even know what that means.
Which comment does he need to be above?
About the that climate change should not be led by a mentally ill Swedish child who's being exploited.
I stand by what I stand by my reaction. It was an honest, real-time reaction. Mike's got notes. I don't begrudge people who have notes. I've been going on TV a long time. I've never had notes. I read, I come, and I react at my top of my intelligence, okay? This is not, look, when he said that, I had a visceral reaction to that. I actually regret calling him skinny boy. I do. And I said that. If you listen to my podcast, you'll say, and I'm going to tell you why I called it. Mike knows the story. We met yesterday for the first time. I'll tell you the story. Is that okay if I tell the story? So we were supposed to talk about Meatless Monday. And whenever I get a topic like Meatless Monday, which I consider the conservative outrage of the day, I try to make fun of it. I try to make it look ridiculous. I come up with a little shtick. And one of my shtick was I've traveled around this country and maybe we could use a day off from meat. I haven't taken a single day off from meat here in Nashville, though, and I don't recommend anybody do that. But I didn't know Mike. And I didn't want to be saying that, doing fat jokes with a heavy guy. So I looked into the monitor and I see this thin, young guy, and I had in my head, oh, he's a skinny boy.
And I will say, in your defense, Chris, I took it as a compliment. I thank you very much.
Thin. You're very thin. Thinner than me. I'm jealous a little bit. So that's how it came about. I don't like name calling in politics. I don't like it at all. I want to see us come together and try to solve problems. But when people start doing name calling, it makes the whole thing just seem completely irrelevant, and people turn off to it, and we've got to stop that. And to the extent that I'm part of it, I'm trying to do better, and I think we could all do better. Look, Patton Oswalt, he's a comedian. He's got a saying. I like to repeat it all the time. It's chaos. Be kind. We all have more in common with each other than not. We might disagree on political things that we all think are so important right now. I want to get back to a point where we don't think about the president for a couple days and we can just go enjoy Nashville and have some barbecue and hot chicken.
Okay, we'll leave it at that and go with, we got 5 minutes. We can get both of these who are already standing up, I think.
So I think, Chris, if we were all in Nashville, hey, good advice. Let's take that. Take a couple of days off, forget about politics, and just eat. Good food, good beverages, good family, good fun. Leave the politics out. But be that as it may, that is true. We do get into heated discussions, heated debate. Sometimes name calling, depending, like when I use the acronym SIMR, SIMR, stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded. That is basically to accentuate, to just basically say, yeah, you know what, the guy just doesn't know what he's talking about. It just doesn't carry the same kind of oomph, you know what I'm talking about? The same kind of modifier, the adjective, the descriptive words. Because when you do take a look at it and you ask the average person who probably doesn't have a dog in the fight, doesn't have skin in the game, let's say, and you just ask him and say, tell me what you think this guy is saying, thinking, and saying. Tell me what you think this guy is saying and thinking. And give me your honest reaction to it. Majority of the time, 70, 80, 90% of the time, someone's going to say, that's crazy. That's just ridiculous. And then you go, that's why I said that person's ideas or that person's a stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded. He's in the political hall of shame under the acronym SIMR, S-I-M-R, period. So, like I said, Michael Knowles made a comment. He's basically saying that the left uses children as shields, and as soon as you start to say something about them, they bring them up and they try to shut down the debate because they know that they're wrong in what they've been doing. And if you call them out on it, they don't want to be called out on it, so they want to shut it down, and they throw it back in your face saying, oh, you're attacking children, you're attacking people with health challenges or mental challenges. Oh, please don't do that. But they don't have any, for them to use children to get a political point across, for them, they'd sell their mother. They'd sell their soul. They'd sell the soul they have. They'd sell their mother to the devil if it meant you're going to get a policy point across or do something that's going to harm people in the long run. The Democrats, the liberals, the social market, they will sell their souls just like that. You know it and I know it, folks. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host, Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. My final thought, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.